All right, good afternoon everybody. We are outside the shop in the sun. Yeah, it's brutal today. We're going to get in the shop really quick, but I just wanted to show you this. Check out what I found today. We went yard selling and I was talking to the nice people, and they had a yard sale, and I said, you know, I'm always looking for small engine stuff. You know, I like the old three-wheelers, old four-wheelers from the 80s. The lady said, well, we got an old four-wheeler. If you take it, I'll give it to you. So we got a free 250cc, looks like 4-stroke, I have no idea, quad runner four-wheeler and a key. They went and got the key for me. So I'm gonna grab the tractor and or you know, we could just dump this off with some ramps. I'll tell you what, I'll get some ramps and we'll just dump it off in the shop there. I was kind of let it sit out in the sun a little bit. The rumor has it, the woman, we were loading it up, she says, we had a snake out here earlier. And I said, earlier today? And she said, no, it was yesterday. So I didn't stick around very long. Once she said it was time to go, it was time to go. All right, well, like I mentioned outside in the heat, whew, I'm telling y'all, this summer is a doozy. I think it's gonna hit 97 today, 98. It's different. It's not like 98 where you're at. This is 98 in Florida. We do it different down here, y'all. Whew, man. So what do we have? I don't know. Let's get my little forklift over here. All right, has anybody got one of these laying around? Well, they don't balance real well. Looks like the motor's all the way in the back. Really scrutinize it before I let it come all the way out of the truck. Y'all know why that is. Summer is not the best time to find yard ornaments. All right, well, welcome back to the shop, y'all. I just got in from a really amazing day out yard selling. I've mentioned this many times. It's a great way to find tools and equipment. You never know how your day's gonna start. This morning I got up super early and I went out and I went to the very first yard sale, and they had signs up at the road, and I get to the address and there's nothing. There's nothing out in the yard. There's no signs necessarily at the house, nothing that would say this is the house, other than the address was on the sign at the corner of the street. And I sat there and I looked on, we've got a little yard sale app, and I was using that. And I didn't read the fine print until I was already there. It was my very first stop. I was trying to hit the ground running this morning, about 7:30 or so. And I'm not one for details. I'm a forest person, not a tree person, you know what I mean? And so I finally stopped and read the fine print, and it said it started at 9. Well, I was an hour and a half early. So I went ahead and I hit a bunch of other yard sales, and I found some good stuff, nothing that I'm gonna bore you with, other than the edger was kind of a good find. And I decided that I would turn around, and on my way back home, I would go past this first yard sale and just see. It was about 11 o'clock in the morning. They would have been up and running for a couple of hours, and we'll see what they have. And so I got there and I met a real nice couple, and I was visiting with them, and I said, you know, I'm a small engines guy. I like going out and finding small engines, you know, three-wheelers is my favorite thing, but small engines. He said, we got an old four-wheeler though. And I said, well, if it's old enough, you know, I might be interested. I mean, 3-wheelers is my thing, but you know, older 4-wheelers. And so they take me out in the backyard and I found this. Now, I don't know what this is. Yeah, it's a Suzuki, and yeah, it says quad runner on the side and it says 250, but that's it. That's all I know. So the owner said that it ran, and he had put it in the shop and had some work done to it, and he got it back, and it ran for a little while, and he used it at a hunting camp, and you know, it just quit one day, and here it is. It hasn't been parted out. It's not missing anything that I can tell. I've never seen one before, so I don't know what it might be missing, but it looks like, you know, here's a pull cord there. Apparently it was electric start. They gave me the key. I have the key. Check this out. Got the key. It comes with a little tag on it. All right, we know it's got reverse, so that's pretty cool. It's got independent rear suspension. Look at this. Now, I'm not a Suzuki guy, but they got it. Independent rear suspension. So I tell the the lady that was there, I said, well, I have a YouTube channel. Really? She said. I said, yeah, it's got a YouTube channel. And so we talked about it, you know, what I do and how I do it. And she says, if you will take it and do something with it, you can have it. I was floored. So I said, sure. You know, how can you not? You know, somebody puts that kind of faith in you, go for it. See what's going to happen. Who knows? So she's going to be watching. Thank you again so much for giving me the opportunity to work on something new. And that's kind of one of the neat things is I get to experience different machines from different manufacturers, and they're all different, and how they do things. You know, they all do the same thing. They start, run, and drive. But how do you get there? And so I'm learning a lot. I'm getting a really good education here. But I wanted to really kind of go over it really quick with you and me especially. The woman told me that they had a rattlesnake in the backyard. I said, did you kill it? And she said, no, it got away. I said, okay. So we don't know where the rattlesnake got to. Now, she didn't say it was over near the 4-wheeler, but the 4-wheeler was in the backyard. You don't want to mess around with a rattlesnake. I'm going to be very cautious in the disassembly. As you see, it had a tarp over it. This is the remnants of a blue tarp that was on it. I've got some still shots I took when we were taking pictures. The airbox, the toolbox, any little cavity or cubby like that, you need to be cautious this time of year, especially here in the south. From now all the way really to early fall. So I'm gonna just kind of check this out, put you a little time lapse. If something shows up, you'll know it. But yeah, it's all here. It's free, y'all. It's free. Now, my last video, I told y'all not to go buy nothing that looked like this. If you are inexperienced, and that's who I was really speaking to, and you are just getting your feet wet, so to speak, with small engines, you buy something like this, you get discouraged really easy. This is probably going to take quite a bit of work, and maybe quite a bit of dollars, and we'll assess that every step of the way. We'll go through the basics. We'll see what we're working with. Do we have spark? Does the carburetor function? You know, probably just certainly going to have to clean that. You know, is the wiring intact? You know, the mice or whatever, have they eaten it up? Do we have any compression? You know, those are answers that we have to find before we go spending any money, and that's what I encourage you to do. Go through the basics, verify what you have. It might not be worth saving. There again, it might be worth saving. And if it is, then it's a huge win for us. We have nothing invested. Got to meet some really nice people, and hopefully they'll enjoy the content, and hopefully we can save this and they can see it run again. I've never seen one. I do know that the quad runner is the 4-stroke utility machines compared to the quad racers, which is one right there. But beyond that, that's just a general understanding of Suzuki and their marketing. So they did show me that it did have the owner's manual here with it, and some odds and endsies and stuff. And so we're gonna kind of jump into this and kind of make a pile of stuff. And as long as there's no critters in here, I better go get a shovel. All right, now we're ready to do some archaeology work with our new 4-wheeler. Let's just take it one step at a time here. We loaded it without issue, and didn't see anything and I'm 99.9% sure there's not going to be anything in here. There wasn't any in the 86 we brought in this time of year. Actually, there was a shedding in the air box, and so I'm always a little gun shy about air boxes. It's just, it's part of living in Florida. We are the snake capital of the United States, I think. And if we're not, we should be. We've got snakes out the wazoo. We are waiting on parts for the LT. Got a carburetor kit coming for that. And so this really just worked out that it showed up today. I sure hope I didn't bring those snakes home. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. Keep the snakes somewhere else. Hey, we've got an air filter in here. So the gentleman told me that he had it serviced a year or so ago, and he brought it home and it had quit running. And I have no idea how any of this works. We are figuring it out. Got an air filter. See some mouse droppings, but that's it. He told me that the seat was eaten by a horse. Now you can't just make stories up like that. I mean, if somebody tells you the seat got ate by a horse, they're probably serious. So we got a horse eating seat there. I tell you a trick here. It's a little wasteful. Carburetor cleaner is pretty pungent stuff. We're not going to be trying to turn this thing over no time soon, so it's all right to spray her down a little bit.
Much later. Much later.
I think if we had any critters, we probably would have spooked them up doing all of that for sure. Carbon choke clean ain't no joke. All right, now I'm gonna put the air filter back in here. It's actually, it's still holding together. So since there's some mouse droppings in here, we'll keep that out of the intake. Looks like we've got kind of some Lego Rubik's Cube thing happening here that holds this in. Yeah, okay. We are missing a screw. Just pointing out the things here, not. We're gonna put that back on there for right now. We're not gonna try to turn it over or nothing. We're still exploring. We're trying to figure this out. And while you're figuring a machine out, pay attention to what you got, what's going on, what you might be missing. We got the original toolkit, Preston. I know you're excited about that. My friend Preston loves original tools. We got a garbage bag. You know the saying, you carry it in, you carry it out. That's good. We got some rope. Big old toolbox. Got bungee cords. You know what those look like. Yeah. You know what those look like. No, I'm not sticking my hand in there yet. We got some string. We got a whole bunch of stuff in here. We got that might be like a battery tender box. We got more tools. Oh, I got one of those. Those are cool. Those are one of those little nylon nets you put on your stuff and strap it to your four-wheel. All right, we got more bungee cords. Oh, Preston, look at that. The Suzuki air pressure checker tire gauge. He's going to be calling me tonight. He's going to want that. All right. We're just going to put that back in here now that we know that that's safe and empty of anything that's bad. All right, so let's look for some type of identification. What year is this? Put it in the comments. Based on the key is exactly the same key as the 88 we have. So I am betting it's probably around the same year model. I'm looking for a identification sticker or something like that. If anybody knows where one is, just yell it out. It helps. I yell at the TV all the time to hear my wife. Okay, I don't see a sticker anywhere. Once you get something like this and you're comfortable that there's no critters in it, ideally, I like to just kind of go for it. And check for spark. Make sure you're not going to suck up any, any oil or anything. If you do, just let me know. But I don't see a sticker anywhere. Once you get something like this and you're comfortable that there's no critters in it, ideally, I like to just kind of go for it. And check for spark. Make sure you're not going to suck up any, any oil or anything. trash in the carburetor. That's why I put the air filter back on it. There are some mouse droppings in there. Shock vac or suck those out really good. We'll probably do that at some point in time. We've got the key. You want to check the ignition. There's a battery somewhere. Oh, found it. They put the battery in the front. Who knew they put the battery in the front? I didn't know that. So I tell you what, let's just turn the machine around. There we go. Now, this is kind of a down and dirty, will it run? I'm not turning my back on this thing no time soon. If she hadn't have told me that they found a rattlesnake literally a couple of days before, I probably didn't even dawn on me to think about it. But since she told me that, that's all I can think about. It's like watching Jaws and then going to Panama City Beach for the vacation. Don't do that. That's bad. Don't do that. Dirt, debris. We have a lot of debris. So yeah, I did what you just saw. I just put a jump box or a battery charger to a four-wheeler that's been dead for a year at least, if not longer. Yeah, why not? What do you got to lose, right? I do this carefully. I make some jokes, but I do it carefully. I want to see what's going to light up, what's going to work, what circuits are working, what made this machine stop. Clearly it wasn't wrecked. It just stopped. It could be carburation, it could be spark, it could be a combination of the two. I still really don't know what we're working with here. A quick internet search would help, but yeah, we're just kind of going for it. So we're sending it, they say. That's what the kids say. They say that. I don't know who's receiving it, but the kids send it. They send it a lot. So we're sending it. And we're going to turn our key on. Our ignition, our neutral light came on. There you go, look at that. And that's kind of the stuff I'm talking about. What works and what doesn't. We'll turn this down. Should be able to get lights. Look at there. All right, so now we have lights. So we know that at least that portion of the electrical system works on this. And wires, the two things that get wires are mice and you know, critters, or rust and fatigue and like build up of electrolysis, and the connections get bad, and a bad connection is just like having a broken wire. So it's always good to go through your plugs. What is Suzuki doing? How many switches do you need for the lights? That's low. Oh, there you go. Key switch for the lights to come on. Who knew? So what else do we got? I don't know. So our air box is relatively clean. Like I said, I put the air filter back on it. If we were to spin the motor over now, let's just see if it's not locked up first. We've got a pull cord. I'm going to go to the other side just to kind of not be in your way. Let's just spin the motor over with the pull cord. It does have one. And that's always one of the... what are you doing over there? I lost you. I went to the other side of the machine and you weren't there. There you go. Sit up straight. Okay. So for your first initial spinning of the engine, think about it. That piston has been sitting still for a year or so, or longer. You know, I got to tell y'all, the older I get, the faster a year go by. I really never thought I'd had that other Suzuki a year before I actually got it running, but I did. You know, other things get in the way, other hobbies, other vehicles, just like this one has now kind of jumped at the front of the line. As soon as I get them, I'm excited about them. They're new, they're different. I've never seen one of these before, and there's a challenge now, is can we make it run? So think about the internals of your engine. Your piston's been sitting for a long period of time. Normally condensation will build up. There'll be rust around those rings, and you want to gingerly bring these systems back around. You want to move that piston slowly. If it's locked up, we can go down that road of putting some lubricant, you know, in the spark plug hole and letting that sit, and you know, all those different kinds of things. But this is the first initial test. I'm going to pull the pull cord. I didn't check anything at the house. The people gave it to me for free. I mean, to give it a once over in their yard and then say no, been kind of insulting. So we're going to make the most of it, and we're going to see what we can do with this, and I'm excited to do it. So let's just pull it over really slow. or see if we can. Okay, well, it took a minute, and that's kind of what I was getting at. Okay, I can smell gas already, just with 2 pumps. Interesting. Wow. Okay, so our motor turns over. That's good. So now I would be, you know, willing to hit the key and push the button and see if the engine would turn over. We do have a decompression system on this machine. There's a lever on this side, much like the Hondas that we're used to. I tell you what, I really want this thing to run, and I don't want to take a lot of shortcuts with it. I want to show y'all the right way to do it. And I want to honor that family that gave me this opportunity. So the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get a socket and a ratchet. Spark plug, we're going to remove the spark plug on it. And just look at the spark plug and see how it was running. And we'll probably put some lubrication down the cylinder. And we'll roll the motor again by hand before we actually hit the key. I would hate to get this far into it and then mess it up. A good rule of thumb is to pull your spark plug and see how the motor was running when it was last running. You know, we're going to end up pulling the carburetor, but before I get in that deep, I want to see what I'm working with. What am I starting with? What works and what doesn't? Right now we know the key works, but we know that it was running rich. It's pretty black. So while we've got this plug out, we're going to put it back in our plug wire, and I'm going to get some lubricant and I'm going to spray down in there, and just a little bit, nothing too crazy. I like PV Blaster. Marbles Mystery is probably the best, but they don't make that in a spray, so this is probably my favorite. And you don't have to fill it up or anything like that. Now if your motor is stuck, if those ring lands are completely locked up to the cylinder, yeah, you may have to fill that cylinder up. There's a couple of tricks out there. Automatic transmission fluid works. There's some guys that actually put vinegar down in there. So we're just putting a little lubrication down there just to kind of soften those rings up a little bit. They've been stuck a long time. We've just pulled it over by hand slowly. It's the first time they've really moved. So now we've got some lubrication in there. With the spark plug out, we're going to roll it. Again, you'll probably see some fluid spit out, and that's okay. That's part of it. That pulls over a lot better. There we go. Now, you hear that pluppity pluppity plup a little bit? Don't let somebody tell you a motor's got compression unless they put a gauge on it. You can hear, and that is some compression, but it's not enough to run. If somebody tells you it's got compression and they're trying to sell you something, you need to know how much compression. They're always good compression. Well, you don't. Good is one of those vague terms. Good might not be good enough to run. So if they don't have a gauge, just accept their answer. Don't get in an argument with them. But keep it in the back of your mind that it might not be good enough to run. That's all I'm saying. So while we have the machine, the spark plug out, I'm going to kind of just lay it here on the side of the cylinder. You know, things that I looked at there is, how does the paint look? How does the frame look? You know, is it all rusty? Is it, you know, I know it's been sitting outside, but are we talking about it just needs a bath? Or are we talking about structural damage, you know? So this is always this is the first big hurdle. And I'm going to use the electric start if it works. We don't even know it'll work. But we're going to try to verify spark. So I've got our plug out. I hadn't even cleaned it. I like using the plug that's in the machine just to see if it still works. Because that could have been what killed this machine. That might have been what sidelined it, as a fouled plug or a bad plug. So what I'll do is we're going to pull it over. If we have spark, then we're going to move forward. If we don't, then we'll change the plug. It would be a quick, easy fix to find out that maybe that's what sidelined this machine. So let's see if our electric start works. We've got ignition is on. Yep. All right. I can't see if we have spark from here. I didn't even look. Did y'all look? I hope somebody looked. Let's see. We have spark. There you go. Did you see the spark when it sparked? All right, now you be careful with that. You saw that spray that come out. That was carb cleaner, which is very flammable. One of the situations where really I probably should have took the spark plug somewhere else that was grounded. Can't do it to plastic. It's got to be metal. It's got to be grounded to verify spark. Where I had it sitting there, that could have been risky to have a spark or actually a little bit of fire. It would have just been a little bit. But now we know that our plug is good. Even though it's dirty, it sparked really good. That tells us our button works, our coil works, the wiring harness to this point. We're really good at this point. We really are. So we're gonna put the plug back in it for now. We know that none of our safeties are getting in the way. Like this machine does have reverse. So we don't have a reverse neutral safety lockout preventing spark. You know, right now we don't know what killed it. So let's see, what do you think's next? If we've got spark and we've got ignition and we've got some compression, we don't know how much. Now the seller did tell me it smoked a little bit, but smoke could be a lot of things. He could have put the wrong fuel in it by mistake. He could have put 2-stroke fuel in it instead of 4-stroke or vice versa. It could have just been a plug that was really bad and causing it to run rough. Until we see it smoke, we don't know how bad smoking could be. We do know that that horse ate that seat though. He did a good job on that seat. I'm gonna pull this air filter back out. I probably should have just left it out the first time, but I didn't know what we were looking at. Rubik's Cube is something going on here. All right, so let's see. Do you think we have enough compression to run? Now PB Blaster is not that flammable compared to carb and choke cleaner. Now be careful with this, guys. I saw a short the other day. Some guy, new guy, didn't do a lot of small engines work. Sprayed his whole engine down looking for a vacuum leak with carb cleaner, and then he decided that he would, I guess, pull the plug and check for spark or something, and the whole engine and the whole compartment in this area was full of still wet carb cleaner. And when it sparked, it took off and blew back in his face, and he got hurt. And I'm not making fun of him or anything. I'm just kind of spreading the message. Be careful with this stuff. It is highly flammable compared to a PB Blaster or something like that. So when you do this, I always open the throttle, listen for the carburetor. And I get people, they pick on me about this. If you listen close, can you hear the difference between this and this? Can y'all hear that difference? It's subtle. When you're doing it, you can feel the difference, but you know, on YouTube, it's kind of hard to tell the difference. Be sure that that carburetor is functioning. When you push it, you know, you hear that slide moving up and down. Down is more important than up at this point. So when you're gonna spray a little carb cleaner in your carburetor, open your throttle all the way, spray a little bit in there. Get a can that has some in it. Sometimes it'd be nice to be left-handed. Not all the time, just some of the time. There you go, that's more than enough probably. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we know that it runs. We know that it's got enough spark and enough compression to actually light off and didn't make any loud knocky sounds. You know, that's good. So now what could have killed this machine? Could be fuel system. That carburetor just might be awful. Gas tank could be full of stuff. One of the things you got to watch out for is some of these machines were only made for a couple of years. You know, the 250X, even though it was made for like 5 years if you count the 300EX, that metal gas tank had probably killed more of those 250Xs than anything else, and it's a simple fix. Nowadays, Clark makes an aftermarket plastic tank. You never have to worry about rust again. This being new enough not to have a metal gas tank was a game changer for me. And here's why. A machine that doesn't have a gas tank is almost impossible to sell for any type of real money. Yeah, you get 50 bucks for it or something like that. But that metal gas tank is going to cost you $200 plus or minus another 100. You know, I mean, it could be, I think the one for the 250X was $225. Now that is a huge gamble to put into a machine that may or may not run. And so just like the 250X and what we discussed when reviving that machine is you don't spend that kind of money until you know you're going to have a good product at the end. And by the time we got to it ran and it started and the CDI was the problem and everything else was fixed and looking good, then and only then would I spend that kind of money. Because otherwise you get upside down really quick. If I had to buy a $200 or $300 gas tank for this thing, we could be upside down real fast. We'd never get our money back, and that's not what we do here. We buy them, we learn how to fix them, and we sell them to kind of get some money to buy the next one. And so that's what we're going to do here. We have a machine that actually runs for free. I can't believe it. So let's tear into the fuel system. And what I mean by that, we're going to bypass the fuel tank. I've got a jug over here. It's got some 2-stroke in it, so if it smokes a little bit, that's okay. But let's see if it will run off the carburetor that's on it. Let's just get our little jug. If you want a jug like mine, you can get it at 223cycles.net. Contact Curtie over there. He sells these jugs. They're really just handy as they can be. You can quickly bypass a gas tank, go straight to the, get fuel straight to your engine and see what you're working with. That's the next step. We've verified compression, we've verified spark. Let's get some fuel to it and see what it does. All right, now I've bypassed pretty much all of the factory fuel line. As you see, some's dripping there. That's because, whoops, I did that. So we're just gonna open this back up. We're gonna push some fuel into it. And what's the worst that can happen at this point, right? Right. We got any odds takers, odds makers out there? What's the odds on this running? Anybody know? Maybe? Let's see. Be ready to turn it off if need be. All right, well that's new. We didn't expect that. Really thought it would have turned over. Bound up. So here's what we're going to do. Now I put a pretty good amount of that what did I put in there? I put a pretty good amount of the PB blaster in here. Yeah, so let's just kind of blow that out. And there it went. Alright, I put a little too much in there. So that's hydro-lock in an engine. You cannot compress a liquid. I didn't think I put that much in there, but I guess I did. Alright, can we get this fixed in 10 minutes? I say 10 minutes, it's probably been 15. 5 of it was getting out of the truck and looking for snakes. We haven't really fixed anything yet. If it were to run now, we'd still have to go through the gas tank and clean that whole entire system and clean the carburetor. So let's see what we got. We're not going to beat a dead horse here. Ah, see what I did there? The horse ate the seat. Yeah, we're not going to do that. So here's what we are going to do. This carburetor is clearly not taking on fuel. It will run and drive off of carb cleaner. So that's a home run. Now carb cleaner is a little more volatile than fuel. So you still could run on a, don't rule out a little bit of low compression. Remember, something did sideline this machine and we really haven't fixed anything yet. So we're not out of the woods yet. We still got a fuel system we got to go through. But it did run, it did start, it did smoke a little bit here in the shop. Let's get the carb cleaned up. Let's get it taking fuel like it should. And then we will try again. We get it running and we'll put it in gear. We still got to figure out if it's got a transmission issue, but our starter works. The battery will allow us to jump through it. It's definitely, a dead battery, which is not helping things. Low voltage is not good. So don't just sit there and hold the button. If you try to turn one over with a jump box and it just stop, because what you're doing is you're giving low voltage to that starter and you'll burn it up really quicker than just turning it. I always cringe when I watch other people just sit there and hold the button on these videos and they're just cranking and cranking and cranking and cranking. I just, if it doesn't light off in the first 3 to 5 seconds, stop, reassess, and then try again. I just never have been a believer of just having one just turn over and over and over and over and over and over. So I got the carburetor in the parts cleaner. I thought I'd run and check the compression. We got the carb off, so it's just full air going in there. See what it's got. Wow, I was not expecting that. The way this thing smoked, 170 PSI. I don't know what the book is on it, but that is excellent. All right, well, good morning. While the camera was off, I've been busy. I had the carburetor, went ahead and tore it apart, found that the choke cable, the connection, there's a little plastic bezel, if you will, that screws into the side of the carburetor, was broken off. So that, along with the actual choke lever on the handlebars, is broke off also. So the vehicle has no choke. Another small issue, but they start adding up. If I had to describe probably what happened to this machine, the battery died first and foremost. It got difficult to crank by hand, by pull coordinate. Apparently the carburetor's been dumping fuel into the cylinder. Once I put fuel into, hooked fuel up to the system, it hydrolocked. I went to pull it by hand and I couldn't. And I knew real quick that fuel had ran through the carburetor down into the cylinder and filled the cylinder up. So I pulled the carburetor off. The choke mechanism, the float mechanism was all jacked up. And so we had to fix that. Just again, little small things, but they started adding up. Once I got all the fuel out of the cylinder, I just pulled the plug and pulled it over by hand, and the fuel came out. I ran a compression test. I'll insert that little clip here. It has 175 PSI compression. That's huge for a 4-stroke and a machine this old. Now, there's going to be some footage cut in and out of it, starting to run and it's smoking really bad. And two things. One, the cylinder's been washed down with fuel. The fuel that I had in this container had some 2-stroke in it, so it's an oily mix. I would bet that this thing, based on how ugly or how dark the plug was probably running really rich, and the entire exhaust system is probably just full of schmutz and oil and that kind of stuff. Debris, tricycle guy. Once that's cleaned out, it cleaned up. It doesn't smoke like it did. It still smokes a little bit. Again, I'm still using some 2-stroke gas. It's just what I had laying around, so we're using it. It's not going to hurt to revive an old engine with a little oil in it anyway. It needs a battery. What else does it need? It needs a choke cable. It needs a choke mechanism on the handlebars. Otherwise, it's just going to be really hard to start. Now, with an electric start machine, you can kind of fudge it, and just kind of baby it until it warms up, and then you can go about your day. If it was a pull start, you would not just want to just sit there and crank on it all day. So now we're at that crossroads. We've got a machine for free, which is amazing. We've got it running, and now it's time to spend some money. Unfortunately, that's how this works. It's never going to be 100% for free. We still have some hurdles. This petcock, I don't know what Suzuki was thinking, but it's vacuum operated. I've completely bypassed the fuel tank. There could be trash in there. Maybe that was problematic for the previous owner. There was quite a bit of debris in the carb bowl. It's really bad. I would recommend replacing this carburetor. The jets, one of them, I couldn't even get it out. The start jet, I couldn't even get it out. It literally just stripped right out. I was able to clean it in the machine, or in the carburetor, and not remove it. I can't extract it even if I wanted to. That's left to the professionals. Y'all know who I recommend. It's Curtie at 223 cycles. This carburetor needs a lot of work. I would suggest replacing it. Does it run? Let's find out. bad, huh? I'm not gonna let it run long in the shop. We're not gonna stink the shop up. But it does smoke just a little bit. Again, we've got 2-stroke fuel in here. Listen to that thing ride. Man, that's crazy. Now, I've got it hooked up to a jump box. Like I said, we're supplementing its systems. It needs a battery, we've got a jump box. It needs a gas tank and a working vacuum operated petcock. We're bypassing all of that and we're running it off our Motion Pro fuel Camelback portable gas tanks, what it is. As we move forward with this machine, we will start rectifying that. We'll put a battery in it, that'll take care of the battery charger. We'll go through the fuel system properly. We'll get that petcock functioning. We'll clean that tank out. But in less than 24 hours, we're about to go for a ride. Now, I'm a little hot. It's hot outside. It's about 90,000 degrees. And I've already went outside. I've already driven it. It's performed well for what it is. We don't have an air filter. We don't have a lot of stuff, but it runs and drives. I've never had an opportunity to ride one. It's all 4 tires are holding air. It has high and low. I found that out the hard way. It's 5-speed. It runs through all 5 gears, and it has reverse. I mean, it's pretty cool. I don't even know what year it is. I haven't found a sticker on it. That headlight actually comes off like a big red 3-wheeler. Who knew? So I'm still, because the key is exactly the same-ish. If you look really close, our key mechanism on our Suzuki. I know this is an 88 over here. The exact same key mechanism, except this one does not have the light option. Because this machine, the lights are already on. This one, the lights, you can turn them on without the machine running, and that's kind of neat. There we go, we got headlights. Pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool. Little dash light, which the other one doesn't have either. Again, utility machine. Looking at it with 175 PSI compression, the miles on it are just over 1,000 miles. I'm gonna have to figure that that's probably correct, and it's probably been sitting longer than the year that the previous owner, thought. It probably set several years based on the amount of dirt, and I did spray off in here. This was all covered with leaves. I took an air hose. You'll see a little pile of leaves outside. This had all leaves and stuff in it, and I didn't want to fire up the machine and get it hot with all this just full of leaves and sticks, and there's still a couple. There's one right there. So it's just all full of these little leaves. But yeah, they got everywhere. But this is what you want to look for, guys. This is a complete machine. Nobody's been in here monkeying with it except for me now at this point. This cable is good here. This is our choke cable, but where it goes into the machine, the little connection was broken. And then up here, we have no control over it. This is broken. This should slide forward and back to give us choke. Other than that, this machine is pretty good shape. A carburetor, a seat foam, a seat cover. It'd be nice to have this dash or this hood piece here. Excuse me, have this hood piece. Fenders are a little rough, but we could pin these up, and maybe do the old zip tie thing, hold them together or something. It's a yard machine, guys. It's not going to be a beauty queen. It's not going to be a race car. We could just take these off. A lot of people do that. We could just kind of come in here and trim this down and just take those off around the back. I mean, really, do you need them? Probably not. But there you go. Check that thing out. I am just amazed. I am just amazed. So I tell you what, let's go for a ride. I mean, that's why we build them, isn't it? Say that's a pretty slick way to go into reverse there. You just throw a lever and hit the gas. I kind of like that. Working on different machines like this, it gives me an opportunity to compare and learn and see what I like and what don't like and what works and what doesn't work, and know, all that kind of thing. Let's go for a ride. All right, so this is going to be high. Well, there we go. That's it. Isn't that amazing? I mean, it's luck, but it's getting out and looking for opportunities. But I'm out there, I'm always looking. I'm always talking to people. This four-wheeler was not in the yard sale. I went up to the yard sale. I bought a few smalls, and I was talking to the couple, and I told them what I did. And sometimes I'll wear a shirt like this. If you want a shirt like this, you can pick it up in the description below. There's a link, take you over to my merch store. But I wear a shirt that has a three-wheeler on it, so when I'm out, people see that. If they have one, they'll perk up and they'll go, I remember those, or I have one of those, or something along those lines. In this instance, I was talking to the couple. I told them what I did. They thought what I did sounded pretty cool. Nice. They thought enough of me and that interaction to tell me they had this in the backyard, and here we are. And I just, again, thank you very much. I won't say your names on here, but what a nice couple. And I hope you're pleased with what we've done so far with it. Now we're at that point where mechanically we know some things. We know the motor will run. It's got good compression. The carburetor actually performs overall pretty well. Like I said, we don't have a choke. It's not ideal, but it will get us by. Do we put money in it, or do we pass it on to the next fella, or fellette for that matter, and let them put the money into it? You know, nowadays it's real simple. We could take a video of it with my phone and starting and running and driving, and then sell it like that, and let the next person put a battery in it, in the seat and those kinds of things. But we all know that in this condition, the way it looks, it's not going to bring top dollar. What's this machine worth, even if it was fixed up? I don't know, maybe $1,500, you know, running, driving, electric starting, four-wheeler with reverse, high and low. It's got rear brakes, the front brakes, the master cylinder's locked up. We know it's like a $14 part. The battery's about another $45. If we don't address the carburetor, we'll have $100 in that seat real quick, and it just kind of snowballs like that. But that would get us brakes. That would get us a nice appearing seat. And then where would we be? Well, we'd have a much nicer looking unit for sure. Or you could sell it like it is, you know, without those items. You might could get $800, $900 for it with a video of it running and driving, and just move on. You know, we've had it less than 24 hours. What a great way to to spend your weekend. I've got maybe 6 hours in it, you know, going through it, diagnosing the problems, cleaning the carburetor, letting it soak overnight, cleaning the jets. Had a few hurdles over that, but yeah, about 6 hours invested. Not a bad way to spend your time. I think we need to go through the fuel system at the very least, so it's not supplemented by this can. It would sell a lot better. It would be a lot more useful too. You can pull start it. You don't have to have a battery, but you and I both know that an electric start machine is always going to sell better and be more useful. Did we even talk about that it had an independent rear suspension? I don't think we did, but it does. Pretty cool, pretty cool. I will say it pushes the front end in the corners out there in the sand with all the weight in the back. If you look close, the motor is pushed way in the back, and it does push the front end at speed. But you know, if you were just tooling around the woods, going to your favorite fishing spot or something like that, it's not an issue. All right, well, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I think we could have some fun with this one before we let it go. If what's your thoughts? Should we fix it up? Do you put money into them before you sell them? Right now we have no hard goods invested in this. Same spark plug, just cleaning the carburetor. Yeah, we just got to get that fuel system straightened out next. Once we do that, I think you could sell it at the bare minimum at that way, with fuel in its own fuel tank, the fuel pump or the fuel petcock working by vacuum, and then you could sell it because you would just need a battery. I think that would probably be the least investment we can put into it. If we can fix that petcock by just cleaning it and cleaning the tank out, then again, we'd have no real dollars spent on it, just time invested in the machine. I think it's pretty cool with that kind of compression, just showing over 1,000 miles on the odometer. I'm gonna have to say that's probably accurate. The gentleman we got this from said he kept it at his hunting camp, and so we all know that hunting camps are only used during hunting season, and it probably set and set and set, and so it worked one season, he came back to it the next season and it didn't work. And then you just, you know, you don't want to deal with it because it's hunting season, you want to hunt, and so you hunt, and then you go, well, I'll deal with it later, and then you just don't because you get busy, and we all do that. And so probably it said a couple years before it came home, and they brought it home to mess with it or to work with it or something like that, and it got pushed in the corner of the yard, and then I come along. So I hope that this encourages you to get out and beat the bushes. You know, you talk to people, ask people. Somebody knows somebody that's got one in the backyard. Even if you can't fix it to the level to ride it like this, get your hands dirty, get out there, you know, get familiar with the components. Later in life, you'll be able to work on your own car and your own house and your own air conditioning and your own plumbing and things like that with basic hand tools that you acquire throughout your life. I know sometimes it gets overwhelming, especially for you younger folks that maybe don't have a shop or don't have a lot of tools. When you see someone like me that has what I have, and I'm very grateful for it, it's been a lifetime of acquiring tools. I didn't go out and one day buy all this. A lot of these tools were given to me by friends and family, and they got to a point in their life where they weren't using them anymore, and they gave them to me. And I've taken that, and my plan is to do the same thing. When I am too old or no longer want to do this type of a hobby, then I'll be passing those tools on again. And I encourage all of you that watch it, if you are in a point in your life, if you're in a season when you're not going to be using your tools and equipment, you know, pass them on to a family member or maybe a friend's kid or somebody that can take those tools, that will be responsible with them and can learn the craft, can learn to work with their hands. It doesn't have to be ATVs or three-wheelers. Keeping your lawnmower and your weed eater and those things working can save you so much time and money in life. Overall, I've really only had to take equipment to professionals once or twice in my life, and that's been because I'm not scared to tear it apart and try to figure it out. And those times that I do figure it out, then I've saved $1. I've saved a lot of dollars. Those times that I couldn't figure it out, well, then those times I've paid a professional to fix it for me. But having those basic hand tools with those basic skills will serve you your entire life. And so again, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Y'all have a wonderful day.